Introduction to Magic Eye Doctor. Leyun's greatest ideal is to become the most excellent doctor in China. Good luck has arrived and I can't stop it. Before the college entrance examination, I accidentally opened a system where my eyes gain magic, and at a glance, I can tell if someone or something is sick and where it is. Take a bite of the medicinal herbs grown in the system space, which is full of strength and has a great body. It is an essential tool for generating gods in medicine. Leyun, who has been striving to become a national player in Xinglin, is simply overwhelmed with joy. However, reality is very skeletal, and the system is semi-disabled and needs to be maintained by eating. It does not eat gold or silver, but rather tall and noble things such as jade and exotic treasures with spiritual energy. From then on, Lady Lu added another task on her path to becoming a legendary female doctor. Helping the system find food. Chapter 1. Not even 100 yuan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Remember, in 1 second countdown to 38 days from the college entrance examination, 56 days from the ideal realization. 201-6430. The 3 lines of regular script on the plastic whiteboard are meticulous and precise, just like the standard printed text. Among them, the 4 characters, college entrance examination, and ideal, are larger than the other characters, making the originally conventional and somewhat rigid typesetting lively and interesting. A white and clean hand, holding a damp cloth, wiped off several Arabic numerals on the board. The hand was delicate, but the palm was thick, making it a blessed hand. Its 5 fingers were as white and tender as a green jade, and its fingertips were as sharp as bamboo shoots shaved by a knife. The trimmed nails were smooth and neat, and the pink nails were round and lovely. The white wrist connected to the slender hand is pure white, and the exposed arm in the air is like a pink lotus root, so pink and white that no blemishes can be found. That hand, if you go to shoot an advertisement for hand cream, will surely attract a large number of fans with a hand fetish. Looking at it, it also makes people inexplicably want to be the cloth in its palm. Being held by such a delicate and beautiful hand, it must be happy and not to be missed. The owner of the hand is a girl of 13 or 14 years old, with a round oval face, pink and tender skin that is white with a hint of red. Under her slender eyebrows, her bright eyes sparkle like stars, and her black pupils are like precious pearls pulled out of ice water, shining brightly. The girl, who looks like a junior high school student, has sharp short hair, a short-sleeved white shirt, cropped jeans, and sports shoes, full of vitality and youthful beauty. Simple clothes, the agility of an unobstructed young girl, with a natural beauty like a blooming lotus, exuding a spiritual charm from within. Seeing her is like seeing the rising sun in winter and the morning breeze in summer, making one feel relaxed and happy. The girl's rosy lips slightly curled up, indicating a good mood. She focused on erasing the Arabic numerals on the whiteboard and wiping the space clean. With the other hand, she picked up a water-based pen and added new words in the blank space. The words on the whiteboard became: countdown to 35 days from the college entrance examination, 53 days from the ideal realization. 201652, 35 days left, come on, Leyun, climb to the ideal peak. Correcting the date, Leyun happily put down her pen, clenched her fists, and her eyes were full of confidence. Ideal is a beautiful imagination and hope for future things. Everyone has an ideal, and Leyun's ideal is to become the best doctor in China. Ideals are great, and the path to success may be winding. She firmly believes that as long as she perseveres, efforts will eventually live up to those with a heart. The sunlight slanted into the dormitory from the window, which was very dazzling. Leyun drew the curtains and hung the whiteboard by her bedside. Fong County is located in the northwest of E Province, adjacent to the largest and most magical scenic spot in E Province, Shenong Nature Reserve, and is a tourist city. Leyun studied at County No. 3 Middle School and lived in an old-fashioned dormitory building. There were more than 10 dormitories on each floor of the building, which shared bathrooms and bathrooms. Each dormitory could accommodate 8 to 12 people. Her dormitory is relatively small, with 8 beds arranged against the wall and empty in the middle. One end is outside the corridor, and the other end is a window. Her bed is on top of a bed next to the window. Leyun's home is located in a village adjacent to the Xinglin Nature Reserve, far from the county town. There are only 2 buses from the village to the county town. She usually returns to the county town in the morning every time she goes home, and this time is no exception. The other people in the same room have not returned yet. Today is my return to school after May Day holiday. On May Day in 2016, it was a Sunday and I took a compensatory leave. Monday, May 2nd, was originally also on vacation, but it was a public holiday. For high school seniors, any vacation is just a floating cloud. Therefore, others are still enjoying their last day of vacation, and high school seniors are struggling to walk back to school. In fact, Leyun had just returned to the dormitory not long ago. The first thing she did when putting down her backpack was to change the numbers on the whiteboard. That board, which had accompanied her from elementary school to now, had its edges smoothed out. The whiteboard is also her self-motivation monument, urging her to achieve one goal after another. In the past, it was left at home. When she was in her 3rd year of high school, she moved to the dormitory and hung it by the bedside. Every morning when she opened her eyes, she could see it, making her feel like a little motor with oil every day, studying hard and making progress every day. Hang up the whip board, Leyun tidy up her luggage, and quickly go downstairs to look for food. The cafeteria only serves food at night that day, and the school cafeteria also has food, which is relatively expensive. She can't eat enough snacks, so she is reluctant to spend money in vain. Every time she goes to find a cheap and affordable store to solve the problem of food and clothing. It's almost noon, and there aren't many people on the school road. Leyun wandered out of the school, took a bus to County Central Street, and walked towards Bu Street, looking for food. More importantly, she had some essential items for girls that needed to be purchased, which she could easily bring back. There are still 3 days before the start of summer, and the climate in Fangxian has entered summer early. In recent days, the high temperatures have made everyone on the streets dressed in summer clothes, refreshing and energetic. It's rare to have a holiday, there are many people walking on the street. Lele, Lele. Leyun paced leisurely and heard a familiar voice. She immediately turned her head and saw an old man setting up a stall in front of a store. She felt embarrassed and stuck out her tongue, then quickly ran over and said, "Grandpa Li, you're here again today." Mr. Li and Leyun are from the same hometown. He is young and stubborn, and people give him the nickname Li Daniu. The old man used to work as a small sesame official in the town, in other words, he was a civil servant. His son set up a storefront in the county town to do business, and the old man couldn't take his leisure time. He is also a person who loves old culture and came to set up a stall, specializing in buying and selling small antique and intellectual goods. The old man is over 60 years old, with gray hair and good spirits. His stall is located next to his son's storefront, not occupying anyone else's territory. A small table is set up, with copper coins and old accessories placed on the table. The old man sits at the table and someone comes to chat with him. When there is no business, he occasionally takes out a long cigarette stick to take a few sips. Basically, there are not many opportunities to chat. Remember in 1 second stay alone for a long time. Seeing Xiao Leyun who could chat with him, Li Daniu boasted and pointed to the things on the table, saying, "I went to search for a few new products a few days ago and put them out to share. Take a look at Leyun, isn't it very tasteful?" Leyun and Li Daniu got to know each other not because they were from the same hometown. If they were from the same hometown, they might not necessarily become friends, let alone forget about their old age. They only got to know each other because they were old and young. It was purely a case of a car ride where a pickpocket bullied an elderly person who wanted to take money. Leyun and his classmates acted bravely, and then they got to know each other from an old and young age. Let me broaden my horizons. Leyun was very proud and worked hard to open up her titanium alloy dog eyes, admiring Mr. Li's new product. She scanned her eyes and finally found the new product. A snuff bottle, an old jade, and a few silver ornaments. Aren't these all common things in the countryside? Leyun wanted to cover her eyes, but she was deceived again. Feeling deeply deceived, even Le did not dismantle someone else's platform. Even in times of hardship, he picked up a few newly purchased items and admired them curiously. He praised the beautiful workmanship and had a discerning eye. With his ability to open his eyes and talk nonsense, not becoming a salesperson would be a waste of talent. Li Daniu was praised with a smile on his face. Look, this child has a real heart and is talking about this truth. Leyun praised each new product with a few words, and once again appreciated other small items. Grandpa Li was sometimes unreliable and tried to retrieve some worthless small items. Sometimes, with great luck, he could even find genuine products. Once, he found a yuan datu from the Republic of China era and made a profit of 10,000 yuan. She has a personal preference for jade, so she purposely browsed over several jade articles. When her fingers touched something, her whole arm burned up, which made her heart jump uncontrollably, and she pulled back her hand without any trace. Hot, the right arm is boiling hot. Strange. The burning sensation also made Leyun uneasy. In recent days, her arm has been running a fever inexplicably, and because it only occasionally burns and has no other adverse reactions, she has not paid attention. On the way out shopping just now, her arms were heating up again. This time, the fire was too severe, and her entire arm seemed to be emitting flames, with a burning sensation reaching all four limbs. Retracting her right hand, she used her left hand to pick up what she had previously touched. It was a small stone, like a circle being dug out, with a curved shape, alternating between brown and white. To be honest, ordinary stones like this can be found by the river and the sea. Anyone who goes to search for them can definitely pick up hundreds of pieces. It's just such a simple stone. When Leyun held it, her right hand burned even harder, making her feel like her right hand was very eager to get close to that stone. Grandpa Li, where did you pick up such a broken stone and throw fish's eyes into the ancient Chinese? A piece of mouse dung spoils the whole pot of porridge, and this alien mixed with a variety of ancient Chinese, which will lower the value of ancient Chinese, and you are not afraid that it will affect your business. Holding the small stone, she was very unkind and dismissed it as worthless. Oh, you're talking about that. Oh, that, let me think about it. Oh, I remember a few days ago when I went shopping, I was tired from walking and stopped on the road to see it on the roadside. I thought it looked decent, so I picked it up. Isn't there someone who loves collecting strange stones these days? Maybe they can earn some hard work. Li Daniu took a look, and after thinking for a while, he remembered where that thing came from. To be honest, he simply looked at it and brought it back by hand. If it weren't for Lele finding it, he wouldn't have remembered its existence at all. Mr. Li, I happen to be short of a pressure paper stone. I'll take it with me. I don't have any hard work, just a pack of cigarette money. Leyun casually touched the pocket of her jeans and took out a big unity slip to put into the old man's hand. The silver is cleared, and now it's mine. Alas, how could it be like this? Others are selling and you are buying. Is this really good? Li Daniu complained loudly, but smoothly stuffed a pack of cigarette money into his pocket. He just kept nagging, not to mention giving 10 yuan as cigarette money. It's not a big deal even if he doesn't give a penny, because it hasn't opened yet today, so he didn't want to give it away for free, so he accepted it. I think it's great. Leyun smiled so hard that she couldn't see her eyes. She stuffed the small stone into the front pocket of her jeans to avoid losing it. The two of them were discussing how much silver Mr. Li's newly purchased goods cost. While they were having a great conversation, they heard a cool female voice say, I don't even have 100 yuan on me. It's not embarrassing to use any money to buy gudong. Dear, this chapter is over. Wishing you a pleasant reading. 0. Chapter 2. Pity you not negotiated. You are listening at novel full.audio. Remember, in 1 second the female voice who interrupted the conversation midway actually had a good voice, with a sour tone and sarcastic words that sounded very harsh. A group of people, old and young, were drooling over the discussion. When they looked up, they saw the person interrupting the conversation. She looked like a high school girl, with permed straight hair and black stockings on her dress. She looked quite impressive. Oh, classmate Huang Yali, look at what you're saying, it seems like you have 100 yuan on you. Leyun smiled at her classmate Huang Yali, ignoring her classmate's mockery. She had heard so many things like this, and if she was angry or something, she would have been furious long ago. Huang Yali saw Leyun's brilliant smiling face and wished she could punch him flat. In public, she couldn't take action. She looked at her old enemy with disdain and mercilessly attacked him, saying, You think everyone is as poor as you are. Oh, I forgot that your father lost his motivation to work and couldn't make money, and your mother ran away with someone again. It's inevitable that life will be difficult. When Li Daniu heard that, he felt unhappy in his heart. It's okay to have some minor conflicts between classmates, how can it involve the other party's parents? It's a bit malicious to expose someone's pain like this. The wonton and steamed stuffed bun businesses of Uncle Li's son are mainly breakfast businesses. There are also guests at noon. When Huang shouted at them, people in the shop or on both sides were waiting to watch the opera. Who wouldn't know how to strike people? Leyun has never been the kind of person who is willing to be beaten or retorted, and can also poke people's pain. Well, someone like me who lives a difficult life has to work hard to earn some school scholarships as pocket money. Unlike you, who has a father who is a town mayor and doesn't need to work or study hard, there will naturally be someone who will give you money to spend. Lu is a financially disadvantaged family member, but she excels in academic performance. From junior high school to high school, she has been receiving bonuses from both the school and class. Huang's family is in good condition, but his grades are not good enough, and he is in a position of being neither good nor bad. A city resident, a rural child. Huang Yali, the city child, is very jealous of the poor child Leyun. Coupled with the instigation of someone with a heart, she finds Leyun very unpleasant. For those who always find fault with themselves for nothing, Leyun certainly doesn't have a good color, which makes everyone dislike each other. Yu was poked to the painful spot, and Huang Yali gritted her teeth fiercely. The person surnamed Lu indirectly said that her family's money was not clean, and that her father was corrupt. At the moment when Huang was feeling angry, Zhang Jing, who was shopping with her, walked over and earnestly advised, people who rely on receiving relief money to live are jealous of others' wealth. This mentality is commonly known as hating the rich. Happy classmates, I understand your feelings, but we are good students. We need to have a positive attitude and lead by example, setting an example for our school classmates. Huang Yali was overjoyed to see her classmate Zhang Jing help her strike the rhythm. Zhang Jing, who lives in the same village as Leyun and is currently in different classes, has an old grudge between the two. It's not because of Leyun's poor popularity, but because it involves many factors, such as family. Leyun is a child without a mother, and her father is lame. Zhang Jing and the children in the village often mock Leyun for having a disabled father without a mother. Leyun's classmates are angry and often fight with the children in the same village. As a result, the two have been in a relationship since childhood. A few years ago, Zhang Jing's father also had physical problems and wanted to apply for subsistence allowance. However, the village did not approve the application and gave the quota to Li's father. Zhang Jing believed that Leyun's father had snatched her father's quota, and held a grudge against her. The feud between the two grew deeper and deeper. Another one. Yuyun looked at it and said, let's do it 2 times. Is this a 2-on-1 plan? She immediately laughed and said, Oh, you're right. As good students, we should lead by example, so Zhang Jing did a great job of forming a 1.1 partnership with Huang Yali. And then again, Zhang Jing has been leading by example for so many years, why hasn't she helped Huang Yali improve her grades? Is it because Zhang has limited time to help her classmates with her studies, or because Huang Yali has limited intelligence? Oh, don't mind, I'll just casually talk about it. Is someone surnamed Lu calling her stupid? Huang Yali's face turned pale, and she also harbored a hint of resentment towards Zhang Jing in her heart. Zhang Jing is friends with her, but she has never supervised her studies or helped her improve her grades, so she is always ridiculed by those surnamed Lu for her poor grades. You. Sow discord. Zhang Jing was so angry that her chest bulged with anger, but she couldn't muster it and only held back a word of criticism for a long time. When did I sow discord? True friendship is stronger than gold. I am not afraid of being provoked by others, and being afraid of being provoked only indicates that there is a ghost in my heart. Hey, by the way, I don't have much pocket money to make a living on welfare, and I even used the scholarship I saved to buy gudong. One of you is the mayor's daughter, and the other is a wealthy girl. Can't you afford gudong? Oh, I forgot. Zhang's family is also applying for a welfare fund to make a living, although they have also received scholarships, which are even less than me. If I were the boss and you were the second in 10,000 years, you probably wouldn't even have 100 yuan. It's just normal not to be able to afford gudong. Leyun, don't underestimate people by looking at them through the cracks of the door. I have money. Zhang Jing's face changed in anger when someone secretly scolded her for not being as good as others and even exposed her family background. Her academic performance is good, but for some reason, she is always overshadowed by Leyun. Every time she ranks, even if it's different in arts and sciences, she always lags behind Leyun in science by 1 place, truly a second place in 10,000 years. She never told anyone that her family had also applied for subsistence allowance. In fact, her father didn't need it to make a living yet, but the subsistence allowance was given to the people by the government, so she applied for it for nothing. Unexpectedly, it was exposed so blatantly, which was really shameless. Words have no basis, only seeing can be true. Leyun happily grabbed an inkstone and an old jade bracelet from Grandpa Li's table. Nah, this is a Republic of China bluestone inkstone, only 600 yuan, and this old jade bracelet is only 400 yuan. I am a poor person living on welfare, and even such a cheap ancient understanding would buy it. Remember in 1 second, can't you afford it? You got it. Judging from your expressions, I know you only have to puff up your face and pretend to be fat in front of me. Essentially, you don't even have 100 yuan, just like me. Forget it, let's go. I don't care about you always mocking me for being poor. Who calls us classmates? We should be friendly among classmates. Don't pretend to be fat in front of me in the future. Leyun took away 2 pieces of ancient knowledge, and Uncle Li knew that someone was probably going to be slaughtered. When she opened her mouth, she reported 6,400, and her eyebrows jumped heavily. Is there any way to deceive people by using provocative techniques, even if the expressions of the onlookers are awkward and lifelike? They have gained a lot of knowledge. They won't accuse the young female students of deceiving others. After all, gudong is itself a consumer goods. No matter how much the buyer says it's a mess, no one forces you to buy it or not. If you're willing to pay, that's Zhou Yu's yellow hat, one willing to fight and the other willing to suffer. Everyone is just watching the excitement, whispering and occasionally laughing. Huang Yali felt suffocated when someone accused her of being a fat guy with a swollen face or a poor loser she looked down upon. She heard the onlookers pointing at her, feeling embarrassed and angry. They spoke softly, but she still heard a few words accusing her and Zhang of bullying younger girls and acting like wealthy people. Huang Yali's anger rushed to her forehead, making her mind dizzy. She took out her wallet, counted out 6 pink-haired grandpas, grabbed the inkstone with one hand, and threw the money in front of Leyun with the other. Look clearly, this is 600. It's probably not as much as your living expenses for 6 months. Don't lose it, even if you sell it, you won't be able to afford it. Buy, you must buy, even if you know that the other person is a provocateur, you will accept them. Otherwise, in the future, those surnamed Lu will not be able to laugh them to death. Zhang Jing gritted her teeth and also took out 4 red tickets to learn from Huang, throwing them in front of Leyun. She casually took away the bracelet and said, "Nah, 400 yuan, although it's not yours, you can take a look and touch it. You've had a dry addiction." The two of them took the ancient understanding, held their chin high, and turned around arrogantly like peacocks, walking away. "Lele, don't be too narrow. Minded with them." Li Daniu furrowed his brows as the 2 female classmates' throwing of money was too insulting. "It's okay." Leyun picked up the red notes one by one and smiled, "Grandpa Li, it's a good start. As usual, after deducting the principal of 400, we can make a profit of 600. Let's have a pleasant cooperation. Those 2 classmates are foolish and have a lot of money. They can't stand being provoked, so when they are provoked, they will come knocking at their door with money. If these foolish classmates come in 10 or 8 more, she will make a lot of money." Off-topic: cute and beautiful girls, a certain product has officially filled the pit. Welcome to Jump the Pit, and I will continue to drip below dear, this chapter is over. Wishing you a pleasant reading. 0. Chapter 3. Fighting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Remember, in 1 second, the campus of Fengxian No. 3 Middle School has beautiful scenery and rich humanistic atmosphere. The scenery is beautiful and the weather is sunny. Zhang Jing is in a very bad mood. She was deceived and said that the antique jade bracelet is clearly a glass bracelet. In fact, shortly after leaving the stall, Zhang Jing and Huang Yali regained consciousness from their initial unpredictable anger and thought that a few hundred yuan would disappear in the blink of an eye. The two also felt heartbroken. Even if their family's economy was abundant, their monthly living expenses would only be around 400 to 600 yuan. Buying inkstones and jade bracelets would cost them a month's living expenses. If we switch to the first few months, they will have spent all their lives that month. This month is 1 month before the college entrance examination, and the living expenses given by the family will be doubled. Spend some of them, and the rest will be enough. Thinking of being stimulated by Leyun and spending hundreds of yuan to buy something useless, the two of them were so angry that their liver ached and they gritted their teeth against Leyun. Huang Yali's father is the mayor of a town directly under the county seat, and she went home directly. This time, she didn't invite Zhang Jing, so it has to be said that Leyun's words still gave her a bit of a headache. Zhang Jing strolled around for a while and returned to school carrying a big and small bag. The more she thought about it, the more annoyed she became. At least Huang Yali's inkstone could still be ground, and the bracelet she bought was simply useless. It was a big loss. Feeling regretful in my heart, I saw a familiar figure ahead and immediately ran up, shouting while running, "Leyun, stop." Under the clear sky, the short-haired girl in a T-dot shirt walked on the school road under the shade of lush green trees, and the sunlight shining through the branches shone on her like gold reflecting the morning sun, dotted with stars. Upon hearing this, the girl turned around gracefully, and a bright smile appeared on her round oval face. "Oh, Zhang Jing, why didn't she visit Huang Yali's house today?" Due to remembering the small stone incident, she and Li Daniu divided the money they had stolen from their classmates in half. After sharing the spoils, they went to the mall to buy daily necessities and quickly slipped back to 3rd middle school. Feeling refreshed and rushing towards the dormitory, when I heard someone shouting, Leyun stood still in coordination, trying to find fault. "Stay with me until the end." Zhang Jing was so angry that her head was smoking. Huang Yali used to often invite her to her house and sometimes had a day off on weekends. She often went to Huang's house to play even though she didn't come home. This time, Huang Yali left without asking her, and was it not because someone surnamed Lu picked on her and caused a rift? Gritting his teeth in anger, he rushed to the girl in front of her in one breath, put down his things, inserted his waist with one hand, and glared fiercely at her, saying, "Leyun, you colluded with others to cheat, used glass as jade, and returned me money. Fraud." Leyun sneered with a pop and said, "Zhang Jing, you said I cheated. How did I cheat? I forced you to buy, did I force you to buy? Gu understands that buying and selling depends on eyesight, and the goods are there. If you want to buy, you can buy. If you don't want no one to drag you away, you can only say that your eyes are covered in feces. Don't forget, you are 3 years older than me. If you were really deceived by a younger minor, have you been living with a dog for over a decade?" Zhang Jing, born in January 1999, is from Leyun. She was born in June 2002 according to the lunar calendar and is over 3 years older than Leyun. By age, it's normal for Zhang Jing to be in her 3rd year of high school at the age of 18. Leyun is the more special person. She skipped grades in elementary and middle school, so the latter ranked higher. She was in her 3rd year of high school at the age of 14. "Leyun, don't go too far, I'll call the police." Zhang Jing was so angry that she made a bet on her chest and her fingers trembled. The issue of age has always been a pain for her. Originally, she was 3 years younger than Leyun, so it was impossible for her to be in the same class. Unfortunately, her surname looked caught up with her in the jump, and her grades always overshadowed her. When her family mentioned Leyun, they always said, "You see, Leyun is younger than you, and her grades are so good." Anyway, she heard it so hard that her ears were calloused. Report to the police. Dogs can't change their behavior and eat shit. That's right, you should report it. You did this once in your freshman year 3 years ago, and you wanted to do it again 3 years later. Do you think you didn't get punished 3 years ago, so your skin and flesh are itching? Leyun looked at Zhang with a sarcastic smile and clenched her fist, saying, "Zhang Jing, what's the use of staring? You have the guts to fight. 3 years ago, I could beat you down, but today, 3 years later, I can still beat you down. Leyun, you bastard who has a mother but doesn't have a mother to raise you, you mischievous troublemaker, you deserve your mother not to have you." Zhang Jing was furious and jumped up to rush towards Leyun, grabbing her face with open teeth and claws. Upon hearing her foul language, Leyun's eyes turned red. Not long after she was born, her mother left her and her father behind and ran away with a man. From childhood to adulthood, she listened to countless idle chatter from Zhang Jing and several gossipy women in the village who liked to gossip. When she was young, she would always go and hit someone when she heard them pointing and pointing. In the end, she would either be accused of being black by others or be so angry that she would cry and tell her parents. Her grandmother would always hold her in her arms and cry, while her father would hold his head and sometimes vent his anger by smashing a wall. Later on, as she grew older, she gradually became more sensible and continued to fight people, but no longer went home to complain. 3 years ago, her grandmother passed away, leaving her and her father to rely on each other. When others scold her, she can ignore it. Why should she implicate her father? Leyun was so angry that her eyes turned red. She threw away the plastic bag in her hand and bumped into Zhang Jing in a desperate manner. Zhang Jing, after all, was older and taller. Leyun bumped into her and the two of them hugged each other. The collision made both of them dizzy and swayed unsteadily. Leyun has been fighting with older children since she was young, with rich experience and quick reflexes. Before the other party could recover, her fist slammed into Zhang's chin. Zhang Jing screamed in pain, grabbing Leyun's hair with her arms and pulling hard. When someone pulled her hair, Leyun didn't care. She grabbed Zhang Jing's hair with one hand and smashed her fist like raindrops. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net punched her chin, face, eyes, and even kicked her opponent. She's the king of fighters. Remember, in 1 second she launched a fierce attack that was not fatal. Each punch used 10% of her strength. After a few punches, Zhang Jing was in pain and cried uncontrollably. Subconsciously, she covered her face with her hand and was swept to the ground by Leyun's sweeping leg. Zhang Jing fell on all fours, and Leyun cruelly stepped on her feet. She sat down on top of her and pinched her mouth hard, saying, "Damn it, you talkative woman. I don't care if you speak ill of me behind my back, and I don't care if you flatter me falsely. You really think I'm afraid you won't succeed? You've always had a cheap mouth since childhood, and my aunt tore open your mouth today. I'll see if you're still cheap in the future." Zhang Jing was beaten to the point where she had no strength to fight back. She blocked recklessly while howling and crying, "Oh, it hurts me so much. Leyun, you bastard, dare you hit me? Ah! Oh! Help me!" One blushed, the other screamed in pain, and the two fought fiercely. The battle was intense, and from behind came a furious roar. "What are you two doing? Stop! Dear, this chapter is over. Wishing you a pleasant reading. 0. Chapter 4. Punishments. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Remember, in 1 second Yan Zheng was almost furious. In broad daylight, two girls were fighting as if there was no one around. How bad would it be to let others see the impact? He came back from work outside and originally wanted to go back to the office building. He heard intense screams and curses coming from afar, so he walked around the green lawn to take a look. However, he saw two female classmates tearing apart each other. The two girls who were fighting hard to distinguish were both hoarse and instinctively turned their heads. They both recognized who it was. Director Yan of the Education Department. Leyun saw the teacher running over and her mind became clear. She let go of Zhang Jing, got up and stood aside. After all, being caught and exposed, criticism and education were indispensable. Zhang Jing also scrambled to get up and cried uncontrollably. Running close in one breath, Yan Zheng's nose was even crooked. One of the two girls had a blue and swollen nose, messy hair, and a few scratches on her face. Her T-shirt was torn open, indicating how intense the battle was. "Leyun, Zhang Jing, why are you two again? These two girls, why are they so worried?" He knows classmates Lu and Zhang, especially Lu, who is a special presence in 3rd middle school. She is a child from a single-parent family, but despite financial difficulties, she is strong and optimistic. Her academic performance is also good, and she is the youngest student in 3rd middle school and senior high school. She can be said to be a role model for impoverished children. As the teaching director, Yan Jing doesn't know many classmates, but he still has a deep memory of Lu, because Lu is a good student and also a problem student. In the past 3 years, he has been mentioned in the teaching department for scolding due to fighting. Someone may ask, why didn't Lu, who often fights, be fired? Because it is understandable for Le Xue to have a fight, and fighting can be a minor or trivial matter without causing any harm. Education and education are also sufficient. The teachers at number 3 middle school are happy to see their classmates in adversity with an optimistic and resilient spirit. They also feel a headache about their love for fighting, and they love and hate their classmates. Yan Zheng is no different, he also hates Le Tongxue with iron and steel. Wow! Seeing Director Yan, Zhang Jing cried uncontrollably. Looking at the girl who was crying profusely, with a swollen nose and eyes similar to a pig's head, Yan Jing too felt a faint pain. Looking at another girl, he met her stubborn face and saw tears swirling in her eyes, but she didn't cry. His hardened heart softened a bit and he said, "Leyun, why did you fight again?" "She scolded me for being a wild seed, scolded me for having a mother to support me, scolded my father for being disabled, living, and wasting food. I couldn't get angry enough to retaliate, she couldn't scold me, so she started hitting me, I retaliated, and that's all." Leyun's eyes turned red as she tried to hold back her tears and said, "Teacher Yan, it's my mother's fault for abandoning her husband and child. What's wrong with me? My father is lame and my family is poor, but I didn't steal her money or eat her food. Why does she scold me and my father? She insults me and doesn't want to implicate my parents. My parents didn't copy her house or kill her parents. Why does she always argue with my parents every time? I didn't, sob. Teacher Yen, I didn't. She hit me first and even beat me like this. Zhang Jing cried to defend herself. Yen Jingto's head hurt even more. One of these two classmates has a cheap mouth and always likes to cause trouble, while the other is stubborn like a cow. When they get together, it's like a world war. Let's talk about education. After 3 years of education, they admit their mistakes verbally, but after turning their backs, the two classmates still go their own way, knowingly arguing and fighting, typical of not changing their ways. Struggling and fighting, like what? You too, call the parents. He still leans towards Lo from the bottom of his heart. Zhang insulted Li's parents, which was not right first, but it's not good to be biased in front of the students, so he has to treat them equally. Teacher Yen, my dad has been scolded countless times for being disabled. I don't want him to be sad for me anymore. If you want to scold me, just scold me. Leyun stubbornly refuses to accept punishment from her parents. In my first year of high school, Zhang Jing and Huang Yali wrongly accused me of stealing money, causing deep harm to my young heart. I still forgave her, but she never repented. She insulted me time and time again, trampled on my dignity, and hurt my soul. What I left behind when I hit my classmate Zhang was only physical, and once they were healed, they would be fine. The injuries they left on my soul may never be better, and they will accompany me for a lifetime. I don't know if the injuries I suffered were more serious than hers. How many times do you need to report to the police or undergo an injury test? I have no objection. Before that, please protect the camera to prevent it from being damaged by others. Lu, you are a good child. The teachers all know that you have been wronged and are about to take the college entrance examination. Time is precious. You should go back to your dormitory, study hard, and strive for the top spot. Yan Jing sighed and waved his hand to urge Lu Xiaoxue to leave quickly. 3 years ago, he was aware of the situation. That year, Zhang Jing and Huang teamed up to falsely flatter Lu Xiaoxue for stealing money and even reported to the police, ultimately proving that Lu Xiaoxue was innocent. Because of that incident, Director Yan deeply remembered the 3 students, Lu, Huang, and Zhang. Initially, for the sake of the school's reputation, the school intervened to mediate, and ultimately asked Zhang and Huang to apologize to Lu. Lu also took a step back in front of the teacher and the school, and the matter was resolved in a minor way. Overall, Lu did indeed suffer injustice. Teacher Yan, don't you want me to call you parents? Leyun stood still. No need. Yan Jing wished he could push her away. This student is young and not stupid, always finding events that are beneficial to her at critical moments, making it difficult for anyone to punish her. I heard you don't need to call your parents. Leyun obediently picked up the things that were scattered during the fight, left on her own, and when she turned her back, she smiled brightly. She knew that even if you were caught fighting now, you wouldn't be punished severely. Who said you're about to take the college entrance examination? She didn't have any mercy just now, she made a profit this time. The incident 3 years ago was brought up again, and Zhang Jing, who had a ghost in her heart, was so nervous that she forgot to cry. When she saw Director Yan asking her classmate Lu remember in 1 second after leaving, I feel even more uncertain and dare not breathe. Zhang, how can you curse your parents? Don't insult your classmates again in the future. The college entrance examination is about to take place, and if you cause trouble, you will have to make a note of it in your file. It's harmful and not beneficial to you. Alright, don't stand there and go to the medical clinic to get some medicine to reduce swelling. Farewell to Lexiaxu, the strict and profound teaching of Zhang. The matter was not initiated by Zhang, and instructions are essential. Yes, teacher, I remember. Zhang Jing, who was uneasy, nodded honestly and asked timidly, "Teacher Yan, I don't need to call my parents, do I?" "Let's not do it again," Yan Jing said seriously and left first. "Thank you, teacher." Zhang Jingru pardoned the order, and as the teacher turned around, her fists clenched tightly and her eyes were sharp. This matter was not over. Dear, this chapter is over. Wishing you a pleasant reading. 0. Chapter 5. The Secret of Little Stones. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Remember, in 1 second after beating Zhang Jing up, Leyun also let out a mouthful of anger. She knew from a very young age that crying and crying couldn't solve the problem, and crying would only make others bully her more harshly. Excitedly returning to the dormitory to look in the mirror, my face was scratched several times, a bit embarrassed. Thinking of Zhang Jing's pig head face, my heart instantly brightened up. I packed my things and took out a small stone again to study. As soon as her right hand touched the small stone, her entire arm burned fiercely, burning into a crimson soldering iron. The heat was overwhelming, and Yuyun was startled. She quickly released the stone, and her right hand trembled and trembled. The desire to drink was once again surging into her mind. Looking at the stone, looking at her right hand, Leyun rolled up her right sleeve to her shoulder, picked up the small stone, and gestured across the air towards a birthmark leaning towards her chest and close to her armpit. When she was born, there was a crescent-shaped birthmark on her right arm near her chest and armpit. Do you remember the crescent birthmark on Bao Qingtian's forehead? Her birthmark is like that shape, fuller than the birthmark on Bao Gong's forehead, like the rising moon in the second half of the month. When she was a child, her grandmother even gave her the nickname Yu, which people like to call her Lulu, which is catchy. With a gesture towards the birthmark, Leyun noticed that the size of the small stone was similar to that of the birthmark. Facing the birthmark was a projection of the small stone. She wanted to put the small stone on her arm, then stopped and quickly packed up a set of clothes to change. She took a place in the bathroom with washing supplies and filled a bucket of water for emergency use. If her arm burns too much later, she had to douse herself to save herself. If there are no miracles, there is nothing to be sad about. Anyway, even if you sweat all over, you need to take a shower to review your books. Refreshing. Be fully prepared and aim the small stone at the birthmark with a heart even more tragic than, "The wind is howling and the water is cold, the hero is gone and never returns," and with the courage to lift the mountain spirit to the world. Press it firmly onto the birthmark. The small stone comes into contact with the meat and becomes as hot as roasted iron. Her hand holding the stone was electrocuted as she withdrew, but the stone did not fall. It merged with the birthmark at a speed visible to the naked eye, and in the blink of an eye, it penetrated into the flesh, merging with the birthmark. The originally gray birthmark gradually thickened. Does the arm eat stones? Oh, is this going to be mystical? Yuyun was so excited that she wanted to jump up. The situation in the novel where someone accidentally obtained an extraordinary treasure was similar. Did she also experience a burst of character and about to embark on the path of becoming a winner in life? So when she thought about it, she was so excited that she wanted to touch her arm. She was surprised to find that she couldn't move, her feet were rooted, she couldn't move anymore, she couldn't control herself. At the same time, the temperature on her body rapidly increased, and a burning sensation surged through her body like an electric current, rising step by step. Her throat was so hot that it almost caught fire. She felt the heat from her body rushing towards her face, like standing by a steel smelting furnace in June, with the heat waves burning her face and making her skin burn. Heat. The burning sensation, from heart to body, made her feel like she was on fire, with beads of sweat rolling down her face and layers of sweat seeping through her body, wetting her clothes all at once. Her clothes were soaked, and she had another amazing discovery. The sweat she excreted formed a layer of greasy substance, which looked like a layer of grease had been applied to her body and clothes. Sweat fat is slightly yellow with a sour taste. The burning sensation became stronger and stronger, and Leyun felt like she was about to burn into coke. Her consciousness also became increasingly confused. After a while, another surge of heat surged into her brain, as if something had been broken. A heart-wrenching pain came, and her eyes turned black, knowing nothing. Just as she lost consciousness, her body, which was originally standing in the bathroom, suddenly disappeared out of thin air, leaving only a puddle of sweat and a bucket full of water where she stood. It exists in a small space in the universe, only a few hundred square meters wide. A soft patch of green grass is spread out like a green carpet, with square blocks in the middle. The walls are made of square stones one by one, resembling a flower garden. The ground inside the garden is divided into several pieces by the stones. The outer perimeter of the rectangular flower garden is also paved with stones, and the entire piece of land seems to be built on a stone slab based on stones. The stones used to build the ground give a sense of solemnity. Beyond the cornerstone, the grass is lush. Outside the green grass, a hazy white mist shrouded the small space, which had been lonely for countless years without any sound. Suddenly, a ghostly figure snapped and landed on the soft grass. That is a girl lying quietly on the green grass, with her eyes tightly closed and her breathing long. Her hair, clothes, face, and arms were covered in a sticky layer of oil, as if it had been extracted from grease. The exposed right arm, near her shoulder and armpit, had a faint gray birthmark with a hint of red flowing. Red is like flowing water, winding and graceful, devouring gray little by little. A red shape replaces the original gray birthmark, and the shape remains like a round mooncake bitten off by someone, changing from a surplus to a deficiency. The girl was completely unaware, with sweat and fat pouring down her body. After a long time of sweating, her clothes formed a layer of heavy sweat grease dirt, and her short hair was also glued to a pinch by the sweat tire. A face seemed to be covered with a layer of facial mask cream, and the original skin color could not be seen clearly. After a while, her fingers moved and she even stretched her hands and feet. She's about to wake up. After waiting quietly for a moment, the girl woke up and slowly opened her eyes, with a satisfied smile on her lips. Comfortable. When Leyun is conscious, her whole body is relaxed, her heart is light and her body is full, and her brain is particularly clear. That wonderful feeling is even more refreshing than drinking ice water during the dog days. She moved her limbs, flipped over and sat up, her joints making a popping sound, and the comfortable feeling made her happy. Remember, in 1 second I want to sing high. However, the happiness of Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net lasted for less than 3 seconds, and there was a slight discomfort. The vision was so blurry, and the face and body were sticky. When I reached out to touch my face, it felt like I had touched a layer of mucous membrane, making it even harder for my eyes to see clearly. My grass! Leyun exclaimed profusely, regardless of whether it was 3, 7, or 20.1. Her hands rubbed around her, wiping away the sticky things and wiping her eyes with force. After wiping a few times, her eyes finally regained clarity. Looking up, there was an ivory white patch above my head, and a vast expanse of white in the distance. Beside me was a blanket of green grass, and there was also a flower garden cut into a grid shape. Where is this? Yuan excitedly jumps up. Isn't this the magical space? Or what kind of system is that? She thinks it must be. Look, there's a piece of land over there. Isn't there land for the space and planting system mentioned in the novel? Ah, my aunt is making a fortune. A wave of joy surged into her heart, and Yuan jumped 3 feet high with excitement. Space is amazing, she also has space. Dear, this chapter is over. Wishing you a pleasant reading. 0. Chapter 6. Ginseng and Radish. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Remember, in 1 second Leyun, who was hit by a huge pie, jumped excitedly and almost fell on the ground. She finally stabilized herself and looked down to find the reason. Finally, she found herself covered in oil and her hands covered in it. She applied a sticky patch to her face, feeling embarrassed. Is this washing menstruation and marrow cutting? Until now, she also realized a serious problem: is this really true? Leyun forcefully twisted her thigh, causing her to hiss in pain and gasp for air. It was painful, and there were still such heavy oil stains on her body, which should be true or indicate that she was also in space. This space should be the small stone or the birthmark on one's own arm. Looking around again, this place is very strange. There is no sun or mountains in the sky, just like the well where a frog sits, with limited space. She wanted to go and see that piece of land, but in the end, she couldn't resist it. She was dirty all over, and if she dirted the soil and made it impure, she would regret it to death. Smelling the sour smell on her body, she couldn't bear it anymore and had to take a shower quickly. It was too smelly. After taking a shower, she came back to see, but how did she get out? Looking back and forth, Leyun felt sad. It takes spiritual power to enter and exit the space. Spiritual power refers to the mind. How to use that thing? After much thought and effort, concentrate and silently recite. Out, out. 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 Just saying, go out. I felt my eyes shake for a moment, then I saw a wall and fixed my eyes on myself standing in the bathroom. Leyun couldn't close her mouth, it was so easy and effortless to come out. It was so great. Trying to enter the space again, the next moment, the person stands on the green grass inside the space, silently reciting, go out. The person is in the bathroom again, feeling good, running in and out, repeatedly trying more than 10 times, before the fresh and novel feeling subsides. Enough of playing, take a quick shower. This bath is the longest one that Leyun has taken since she crawled out of her mother's womb. She only washed her hair and body 11 times before removing the grease, and used up most of her soap. Washed white, she realized later that the birthmark on her arm had turned red. It must be said that the red birthmark was as beautiful as a tattoo. Change into clean clothes, then look at dirty clothes. The inner and outer clothes have changed color due to oil stains, and even after washing, they cannot be worn and can only be thrown away. Fortunately, obtaining a magical space made her less distressed. Otherwise, throwing away a whole outfit would be equivalent to throwing away dozens of yuan, just like cutting her flesh. Leyun didn't rush to deal with the dirty clothes. She rushed back to the space with enthusiasm and rushed to the flower bed in a hurry. Looking at the heavy stones, she couldn't help but shudder, it was too luxurious. The stones used to build the ground are rectangular in shape, roughly in length, width, and size, resembling ancient ink jade. They are warm, dignified, and introverted, exuding a sense of immense power. Using jade to pave the ground is simply extravagant and detestable. It was a long time before Lo realized that it wasn't Guyu, those were all spiritual stones. The land enclosed in the flower bed is divided into 10 small pieces, each of which is wider than her main house by visual inspection. The stones for spacing are identical to those paved on the edge of the ground. Leyun was afraid that her shoes would scratch the jade blocks, so she threw them off and stepped on the cornerstone. The surface of the jade was delicate and very comfortable to step on. She walked barefoot to the garden divided into grid blocks. The stone wall and her knees were bent, and the soil surface was about 5 or 6 centimeters away from the top of the wall. The color of the soil was similar to the black soil in QQ Farm. Lee's mood was as beautiful as floating clouds. He stomped on the soil with his feet, feeling different from trampling on the soil in rural fields. The soil in rural fields is very hard, while the soil in flower beds is soft and fluffy. Stamping a few feet, Leyun stepped on the jade in the middle of the ground and ran to the edge of a grid. The entire flower garden was empty, except for a white and tender stem that looked a bit like a radish lying at a corner of the grid. Approaching, Lu expressed that she didn't know her. She was as tall as her small arms, fair and smooth. She said it looked like a radish, and it had some roots. If it were ginseng, it was too smooth. There should be many paths and fine hairs in ginseng. The stem is very clean, as white as jade, with no dust at all. Its appearance is extremely attractive, making people want to take a few bites. Gudong, Leyun couldn't help but swallow her saliva and bent down to grab Dong Dong, which looked like both radish and ginseng. Its seedlings withered, making it impossible to distinguish whether it was radish or ginseng. After thinking about it for a while, she wiped it with her clothes and took a bite. A long, long time later, when she found out that what she had eaten as a carrot was actually priceless spiritual ginseng, she regretted it so much that her intestines turned blue. At this moment, she didn't know its preciousness. All she wanted to think of was to distinguish what it was, whether it was a donkey or a horse, to pull it out for a walk, whether it was ginseng or radish, to take a bite and taste it. Click, a crisp and beautiful sound. Biting off a piece at a time, Leyun widened her eyes, so fragrant, so crispy, so refreshing. She chewed it 3 times and 5 times, swallowed it, and then took a click bite. After chewing it twice, the craving insect in her stomach was lured out. She had already left the matter of identifying whether it was a carrot or ginseng out of the air, biting fiercely with a click. The white and tender stems were just so big, and with just a few dozen clicks, they disappeared. The sound was full of joy, and I licked my lips with endless interest. I also rubbed a few slightly thicker roots with my clothes and chewed them. As soon as I walked to the flower garden, I also ate the last one clean. Delicious, it's really delicious. It's so delicious that it's bursting. Why is there only one? Feeling unsatisfied yet, Leyun greedily searched everywhere, but to her disappointment, the flower garden was very clean, and she couldn't even find any leaves from other plants. Filled with regret, I was about to turn back and look for the few fine hairs I had thrown on the ridge of the ground. Suddenly, I felt my stomach fire burning fiercely, and a huge heat rushed towards my limbs like an electric current. Remember, in 1 second reading www.uukangshu.net, there is also a wave of heat rushing towards the lower abdomen with overwhelming force. That heat is more intense and domineering than the heat generated by the fusion of small stones and birthmarks. Yuan feels as if it's on fire, unbearable heat. Having learned from the past for the first time, I am not afraid in my heart. Isn't it just about washing my tendons and cutting my marrow? I can endure it and pass. Holding back the heat that burned her heart and lungs, she stepped out of the flower bed and quickly sat on the cornerstone. Even though she was used to hard work, her endurance and willpower were too strong to withstand it. After only a few minutes, she collapsed into a ball and rolled back and forth. The heat is surging, the lower abdomen is bulging, like a nerve thread being pulled apart, and there is pain all over the body. In order to distract attention, he silently recites, "Heaven will bring great responsibility to me, so I must first work hard on my mind." The excruciating pain did not subside due to her forbearance, but instead intensified. The burning pain pierced her heart, and Leyun was in excruciating pain. Wine can be drunk recklessly, and food cannot be eaten recklessly. I thought it was a treasure, but unfortunately, it was poisonous. This time, I'm doomed. Dear, this chapter is over. Wishing you a pleasant reading. 0. Chapter 7. The Emergence of Abilities. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Remember, in 1 second pain, Leyun's pain was so intense that she lived and died, feeling pain and confusion once again. She was sweating black, with fine black substances constantly seeping out of her pores. Her face, arms, and feet seemed to have been coated with a layer of black paint, and her newly changed white T-shirt gradually turned black. Black matter is more ferocious than oily sweat, which is expelled from the body in waves. The first black sweat has the deepest color, black and black, gradually fading again, appearing grayish-black, then gray, finally grayish-white, and finally transparent oily sweat. The black sweat that is first expelled from the body is too thick, even if the color of the subsequent sweat is light and mixed together, it is still black. The shrunken student looked turned black all over, as if she had been brushed several times with black paint, even darker than Africans. The ground she rolled over was also covered with a layer of black stains. The pain numbed her whole body, and Yuan's consciousness was blurred. She remained motionless like a dead dog. After a while, her consciousness slowly recovered, feeling that her lower abdomen was still boiling hot. She tried to move, but her whole body was soft, unable to even exert the strength to lift her fingers. Unable to move, she was still very happy, staring at the ivory white above and shouting happily, "Auntie has come back to life." Answering her is her own echo. She lay down, feeling some of the heat from her lower abdomen slowly seeping into her body. This time, it became much gentler, and the warm heat passed through like a refreshing breeze, truly refreshing and refreshing. Previously, it was difficult to even move her fingers. Now, Leyun feels like she has an inexhaustible energy. She crawls up, sits up straight, and sees the two black legs in front of her. When she raises her arms, they are also black, like two pieces of black iron. She stares at the only eyes that can distinguish colors, her mouth wide open in a daze. "Oh, my clothes!" After a while, Lexiaxu looked up and howled in sorrow, and the clothes were once again scrapped. She is poor. He is a poor child who is so poor that he doesn't even have 100 yuan and needs to receive relief money to make a living. He scrapped 2 clothes in a day, which is equivalent to having over 100 yuan spent on water. If she had known this, she shouldn't have changed clothes in the first place. She would have eaten that white and tender plant, detoxified it together, and then changed clothes. Crying, with tears streaming down her face, Yuan stood up sadly and left the space, returning to the bathroom. She stood under the water faucet with people and clothes, washing and howling over and over again. Why is it so dirty? She is only 14 years old and can accumulate so much residue in 14 years. Based on this calculation, how many impurities should there be on those people in their 50s and 60s? There is a saying that goes, being in the midst of good fortune knows no good fortune. Little Lu doesn't understand how precious spiritual ginseng is, so he doesn't know that after eating spiritual ginseng, it is equivalent to being tempered from the inside out, and the bones, meridians, and cells are completely transformed. The body is pure without any impurities and has automatic impurity and detoxification functions. Lu, the classmate, picked out a huge bargain but still kept it in the dark. He felt heartbroken for his clothes and took a long bath, repeatedly rubbing and washing more than 10 times, barely making it clear that the clothes were white. She knew she was powerless to save her clothes, so she twisted her clothes dry, put them on, and listened attentively. At this moment, she had to face up to the previously overlooked problem. Her hearing was skyrocketing, and when she was in the bathroom, she could hear the sound of the dormitory on the same floor and the next floor. There are a total of 12 dormitories on the entire floor, including herself. There are 4 dormitories with students. She heard someone cursing in the dormitory farthest from the bathroom on the lower floor. That person was her old friend Zhang Jing, and she could even hear every word Zhang Jing scolded her. At the moment she crawled out of space, she heard many voices. At that time, she was busy cleaning up the stains on her body and had no time to study. Now, it was difficult not to face reality. Auntie is going to become a winner in life, Leyun murmured to herself while rubbing her hands. Interestingly, Leyun was like a wild grass, tenacious for 14 years. With good luck, she finally had the path to the pinnacle of life. Well, in the future, we must be good to Grandpa Li. He picked up a small stone and gave her a new experience. If the birthmark is the door, then the stone that Grandpa Li picked up is the key. The birthmark has existed since childhood. Without a key, one can only guard the treasure and have no way to start. With a grateful heart for Grandpa Li, Leyun made sure there was no one outside. She rushed out of the bathroom and sneaked back to the dormitory like a thief. She quickly found clean clothes to change into, then put on her wet clothes, returned to the bathroom, packed them together with the first change, and went downstairs to dispose of the garbage. For the health of students, there are garbage baskets on each floor of the dormitory, no large garbage bins, and a centralized garbage collection pool downstairs. Lu, who lives on the third floor, kicked down the stairs and threw away the garbage. As soon as she returned to the bottom of the first floor, a classmate in front of her was climbing stairs. She looked at her and was completely stunned. Is there something wrong with her eyes? Do you know what she saw? The girl she saw seemed to be inside a human flesh X-ray machine, with no privacy at all. She could see her 5 organs and 6 lungs clearly, even her fine blood vessels, and even the blood flowing through them. The girl's body is transparent, from the inside out, without any secrets. Some internal organs and body parts flash with a faint halo, red, green, gold, gray, purple, light yellow, etc., making her seem like a luminous body. What she saw in her eyes was too strange, and Leyun herself was also startled. Why did she see something so similar to the function of the perspective eye mentioned in some reports? There are several reports abroad that a certain girl in a certain place has a unique pair of perspective eyes. Her eyes can see the internal organs of the human body like X-rays, even more powerful than X-rays and ultrasound, and can see the blind spots that cannot be detected by X-rays and ultrasound, identifying the most subtle symptoms of the human body. Remember in 1 second state. Yuyu reading www.yuyukangshu.net. The more I think about it, the more I feel that it fits the perspective eye. Isn't what she sees like an X-ray scan of a human body? If you also have a magical perspective eye, you can look at whoever you want, it would be so great. If she also has special abilities to see the details and symptoms of the human body, wouldn't it be easy for her to become the best doctor? If she also has a perspective function, what kind of ghost are those little scumbags? She can clean them up in minutes and avenge her grandmother. With a heart racing and mind wandering, Guanyin noticed that the girl in front of her was missing. She eagerly chased after her and ran upstairs, catching up with the girl on the second floor. Looking back, she couldn't help but sigh in disappointment. Okay, there was nothing. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. At this moment, Leyun is in that kind of mood, but the thought of still space and the feeling of being low is instantly refreshing. It is not too late for a gentleman to seek revenge. When she is strong enough, she will definitely be able to avenge her shame. Dear, this chapter is over. Wishing you a pleasant reading. 0. Chapter 8. Have you been bullied? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Remember in 1 second Zhang Jing picked up something and returned to the dormitory. When she looked in the mirror, she found herself with a swollen face and a torn corner of her mouth. She was so angry that she gritted her teeth and cursed the culprit for half an hour, flipping out any unpleasant words and cursing them repeatedly. She was so angry and scolded that she became dry-mouthed. She tidied up a bit and went to see a doctor on her own. The school doctor didn't work, so she had to go to a private clinic outside the school to deal with it. She was afraid of being seen and laughed at, so she took medicine and hurried to school. Zhang Jing. Returning to number 3 middle school, Zhang Jing was afraid of encountering classmates on the road and tried to take a slightly off course. When she dodged and finally approached the dormitory building, she heard someone calling her from behind. She instinctively stopped and turned around, faintly seeing a boy coming from a fork in the road. Zhang Jing. Ah. You. Your face. Yang Binbin panted and ran closer. When he saw Zhang Jing's face clearly, he took a step back in fear, showing a ghostly expression. Yang Binbin is very handsome, with a height of 1.78 meters and starry eyebrows. He is tall and has a white face, and his family is also wealthy. He is widely recognized by girls as the school's top student. He and Zhang Jing used to be in the same class, but later split up into arts and sciences. Yang Binbin was about to go to the dormitory to find Zhang Jing when he saw someone from a distance and specifically called out to her. Unexpectedly, he was greeted not with a smiling face, but with a pig's head face. Ah! Yang Binbin's reaction made Zhang Jing suddenly remember that her face was embarrassing, panicked, and she covered her face with both hands. It was over, her image was completely destroyed. When other boys saw her current appearance, she probably wasn't that angry. When a handsome guy saw her embarrassing face, especially a guy who had a good impression of her, he saw the most embarrassing side. Which girl wasn't shy? Zhang Jing was so angry that tears rolled in her eyes. She didn't dare to look at the boy, afraid of seeing disgusted looks and scolding her for being ugly in the future. Yang Binbin saw Zhang Jing scream and turn around. He grabbed his hair in frustration and quickly approached, trying to pass the things in his hand to her. Zhang Jing covered her face with both hands and couldn't pick it up. He scratched his head and said, "So, Zhang Jing, how did your face get like this?" The boy was not scared away. Zhang Jing quietly moved her fingers and saw through her fingers the boy's eager and somewhat shy expression. Her heart pounded rapidly, and when she saw him looking, she covered her face tightly. "Is it played by Leyun?" She didn't say a word, and Yang Binbin immediately guessed. "No, it's not her fault, don't go and make things difficult for her," Zhang Jing said in a low voice. "She's too much." Yang Binbin shook his fist angrily. He felt that he looked a little fierce, and his voice softened. He put the food bag in his hand to Zhang Jing. "This is the kind of bird's nest congee I brought for you. It's the kind you can eat after soaking in boiling water. It's almost the time for college entrance examination, and the pressure is high. I will go back to work late to drink some nutrition." "I don't." Zhang Jing refused to answer and evaded, while Yang Binbin quickly picked up her hand and stuffed the things into her. He ran away quickly and said, "Zhang Jing, hurry back to cover your face. I'll leave first." Upon hearing the sound of footsteps running away, Zhang Jing moved her hand and quickly picked up something to walk towards the dormitory. Yang Binbin's father runs a factory and he has thousands of pocket money every month. The things she gives her are of high quality, and she can't really refuse to accept them. Yang Binbin, who had run away first, took a detour and hid to peek at Zhang Jing. Seeing that she hadn't thrown away the things she had given, he was happy alone for a while. Instead, his face became gloomy. He headed straight to the teaching building, climbed up to the second floor, and went to the classroom of Class 1 in Grade 3. He looked inside at the entrance of Class 1 and saw only 3 boys inside. Leyun didn't come to the classroom, so he returned to the neighboring Class 2 with a cold face. Leyun only entered the classroom a few minutes before the evening class bell rang. In the afternoon, she first cleaned the jade and stone floor of the space she had dirted herself, and then studied the foothold where she came out and how to retrieve things from the space she studied seriously and didn't read a book. Her roommates came back and left, and she was still full of excitement. After spending an afternoon, she finally figured out many problems and only rushed to the classroom when class was approaching. Lu was also the last student to come to the classroom. The other students arrived around half an afternoon, and the college entrance examination was approaching. Even students who used to love playing and going crazy voluntarily reviewed their lessons. The learning atmosphere in the classroom was thick, and everyone liked to stay in the classroom. When she arrived at the door and saw a pile of black heads, Leyun awkwardly shrunk her neck and crouched, sneaking towards her seat. She is the youngest student in the 3rd year of high school, and also the shortest one in the class. Her seat has remained the same from the 1st year of high school to the 3rd year of high school, and now she sits in the 1st row of the middle 3rd group. Others can enter the classroom through the back door, but she can only use the front door in the morning and evening. Quietly tiptoed back to her seat, Leyun had just straightened up from the ground, her head held down by one hand, a shadow covering her head, accompanied by a teasing voice. "Hee, I finally caught you. Be honest, why did you go?" "Little belly, you're touching my head again. Leyun looked up in dissatisfaction and glared at her desk mate Du Miaoshu. Little Du Zi was her nickname for giving to her desk mate. Du Miaoshu is 1.64 meters tall, with an oval face and hair that reaches her waist. She is a typical tall and beautiful woman. She presses her desk mate's shoulder and threatens fiercely, "Lu Xiaonyo, if you call me a little belly again, I'll flatten you." She angrily pinched her desk mate's face and touched it, feeling so good that she couldn't help but exclaim, "Wow, it's so tender and smooth." Du exclaimed in surprise, attracting the attention of his classmates on both sides and behind him. Comrades with small bellies, what's the proper way to shout and be careful of the influence? After being eaten with tofu, Leyun rolled her eyes, cleared her desk mate's claws, climbed onto the chair and sat down. Lu, who was too petite, sat down just beside Du's shoulder. Du Miaoshu hugged Xiao and whispered in a low voice, "Why did you come so late today? Did you get bullied?" "Well, I had a fight with someone today." "This is not the point. Remember in 1 second, is there any connection between fighting and coming late? Who didn't know that when Le Xiao was underage and had a fight with her, Le Xiao usually passed the criticism and education, while other students may have to write a review instead? I beat people into pig heads. The underlying meaning is that he hit someone a bit hard, so he thought about it on the wall or was caught by the teacher and scolded. Du Miaoshu understood it that way and smiled happily, saying, "Oh, Lele, you hit a bitch this time, right? No wonder Yang Chao Chao from class 2 came several times today. His face looked like a stone dug out of a pit, black and smelly, and he looked like he wanted to trouble you again." Leyun's head was covered in black lines, and this guy was afraid that the world wouldn't be chaotic. He was about to scratch his claws off his sticky body. He glanced at the corner of his eye and saw a thief-like figure at the door, chuckling and hanging his head. Sure enough, the next second he heard a warning-like voice. "Du Miaoshu, you're causing trouble again. Do you want to face the wall and think about it? Dear, this chapter is over. Wishing you a pleasant reading. 0. Chapter 9. Many benefits. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Remember in 1 second. Xiang. I secretly tricked my desk mate, and Yuan played drums and gongs in my heart to celebrate. Upon hearing the roar, Du Miaoshu withdrew her neck and claws, sat upright, grinding her teeth behind her back. Even the little girl Lulu remained silent when she knew the teacher was coming, which was too unkind. She insisted on giving a lesson later. A familiar voice sounded like a curse, and not only did Du sit upright, but also the students who were studying hard and striving upwards all looked up. When they saw the homeroom teacher Luo Zheng, also known as Luo Ban's math teacher, holding a large stack of data, they all thought to themselves, "The sea demon of the problem is coming again." Luo Zheng is already in his 60s and was supposed to retire early. He has rich teaching experience and has led a senior high school class for 20 years. He is highly respected and the school is reluctant to waste talent. He was hired by a large sum of money to continue leading the class. Luo Ban also enjoys his job and gladly accepts it. In the eyes of his classmates, Luo Ban is like a devilish teacher who practices the art of sea battles. He takes the mid-term and final exams, the monthly exams, the mock exams, the weekly exams, the big exams every 3 days, and the small exams every 2 days. He overwhelms his students with a sea of questions, while he stands on the shore laughing and watching them struggle in the sea of questions. The sea of questions tactic is also effective. Various questions have been done over and over again, making it difficult for everyone to remember. "Ah, I have to do exercises again." Seeing Dong Dong in Luo Ban's arms, his classmates were lying on the table, and Guyu was paralyzed, looking helpless. Maturity can give birth to orifices. Luo Ban smiled and grouped the papers one by one, allowing the students to pass them on by themselves. Leyun stared at Luo Ban, forgetting to even turn her eyes. She saw images that could only be scanned by X-rays, as well as various aperture sizes. At this moment, Luoban was like being placed in an X-ray machine, with his whole body clearly visible from top to bottom. Leyun classmate, what's wrong? Luoban walked to the second row and saw the youngest student in the class with straight eyes. She immediately felt a little nervous, afraid that the student would collapse due to too much pressure. She waved her paper in front of her. Nothing. Nothing. The image was interrupted, and everything was normal in front of Yuan, and there was no limp of dim sum. Teacher Leyun was bullied by Zhang Jing from class 4 again. Yang Binbin from class 2 came to the classroom several times in the afternoon to help Zhang Jing fight for justice. Leyun was probably scared. My desk mate never complains about anything, but Du Miaoshu is reckless and grits her teeth to reveal that Yang wants to be a flower protector, so she deliberately troubles Leyun. High school is divided into classes starting from the second year of high school. Classes 1.3 in the third year of high school are in science, classes 4.6 in humanities, and repeating classes in the third year of high school start with 0, such as classes 01 and 02 in the third year of high school. Classmates look up to the sky, and classmates Lu and Zhang Jing are the restless ones. They will definitely tear each other up a few times every semester. If they don't hear them fighting in any semester, the sun will definitely shine in the west. So far, the sun has been shining in the east, so they take it for granted. Has Mr. Lu been injured anywhere? Luoban didn't distribute the paper and handed it over to the students, standing in front of Mr. Lu and asking with concern. Thank you for your concern, teacher. I only got kicked a few times and even had a few strands of hair pulled off. It's all skin injuries, it's okay. I didn't suffer any losses either. I hit Zhang Jing in the face and made her face swollen. Director Yan of the Education Department has already dealt with it on the spot. Leyun replied honestly, and honesty is the best evidence. It's good if you haven't been hurt, student Lu. Zhang is several years older than you. If you fight with someone, you will suffer. In the future, anyone who bullies you will report it to the teacher and the academic affairs office, and the teacher will handle it. It has to be said that Luoban is a protector of his shortcomings, especially for Le Xiao, who is young and does not cause trouble in the class. He loves learning and is ambitious, and can almost be said to be a role model among the students who grew up in adversity at number 3 middle school. He also favors some aspects. Moreover, he does not favor students in his own class, and it is difficult to even favor students in other classes. Classmates. Luoban, have you ever seen Lu fight someone and suffer losses? A few classmates in the class who had fought with Lu were very upset. Lu fought recklessly and fiercely, regardless of whether the opponent was male or female, he would not show mercy. They have suffered losses and still suffer indescribably. Who made Leyun 3 or 4 years younger than them? When the fight was exposed, it was always their fault. They were scolded by teachers at school and even scolded by parents when they returned home. Typically, they couldn't steal sheep and ended up being covered in blood. Since fighting a few times, the male and female students in the same class who have learned a lesson, no matter how they look at the music rhyme, are not hurt, and feel a little relieved. They watch their classmates do their papers, walk around the whole class, and unconsciously stand by Li's side. The more they look at it, the more surprised they become. Does this student not even need to think when solving problems? After receiving the test questions and doing a few, Leyun entered a very mysterious realm. Every time she saw a question, various formulas and solutions would automatically run out of her mind. The knowledge she had memorized before was incredibly clear at this moment, and her brain was like a calculator, running calculations at lightning speed. In such a wonderful world, she didn't need to think twice when doing exercises and wrote directly, only her hands couldn't keep up with her brain speed, so there was no possibility that her brain speed was slower than her hand speed. In this way, it was like a robot, without even hesitation, one question after another, without leaving any blank spaces. The speed of answering questions can be described as divine speed. A class lasts for 40 minutes, and a set of test papers takes at least 2 classes. Then, Lu went from beginning to end to the big question in one breath, and finished it in the last 2 minutes after the bell rang. Done. Luoban almost suspected that he was dizzy. When he arrived, Lu did most of the test questions. He stood for half of the class and was stunned to see that she didn't fail a single question and completed the rest of the questions in one go. Moreover, the answers and problem-solving strategies were 100% correct. Luoban silently took Li's exam paper, walked up to the podium, and corrected it on the spot. He wanted to see if her previous question was correct. Remember, in 1 second the exam paper was taken away, and Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net was empty in front of me. Music and rhyme returned to reality from a mysterious realm, feeling confused for a while. It wasn't until the bell rang after class that I was completely awake. My heart was filled with joy, and I found space. I washed my muscles and marrow twice, my hearing was amazing, my memory was strong, and my eyes seemed to have perspective function. There are many benefits. To do the exam, the students ignored the bell and the whole classroom was quiet. Du Miaoshu finished the previous fill in the blank topic and small calculation question. When flipping through the paper, she found that her desk mate was empty in front of her, and her beautiful eyes widened. Don't tell her that she has finished it, she will want to commit suicide. She looked at the teacher on the podium, looked at her desk mate, lowered her head to do the exercises, and talked about anything after class. Leyun had nothing to do, so she had to review a book on her own. The more she read, the more surprised she became. The content she scanned over automatically stored in her brain, making reading as simple as scanning with a scanner. Is this too incredible? Dear, this chapter is over. Wishing you a pleasant reading. 0. Chapter 10. Here comes the scammer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Remember, in 1 second sometimes too many surprises can scare people, and Leyun's memory can be taken aback, followed by ecstasy. She quickly scans the book and takes advantage of her good memory to store as much as she can. By the middle of the second class, Luoban had finished grading the papers and everything was correct. In less than 40 minutes, completing a problem that takes at least an hour and a half to barely complete, Li's computational ability and speed are both first class. Lu carefully reviewed, but Luoban didn't disturb him. After the second class, he collected the test papers and let everyone review on their own for the last class. Taking advantage of the break between classes, Leyun tested whether her perspective eyes actually existed. The observation results showed that sometimes they had perspective function, and sometimes they did not. She couldn't understand the reason and had to temporarily ignore it, focusing on scanning the book first. The last class ended quickly, and classmates jumped up and complained together about the difficulty of the last 2 big questions on the previous exam paper. After finishing all the evening exercises, Du Miaoshu jumped up and pressed herself on her desk mate, doing her hands up and down. You little rascal, you didn't remind me even when the teacher came, which almost caught me and made me think about it in front of the wall. Sister Kang, let's see how my sister dealt with you. Du is 3 years older than Xiao Lu, and he has a mischievous younger brother who is about the same age as Lu. Therefore, Du is full of love and treats his desk mate like his younger brother, bullying and playing. It is common for students to see Du squeezing Lu, and no one pays attention to them. They discuss their own affairs or pack up and go back to the dormitory. Leyun was speechless and shed tears. Her desk mate spent 3 years taking pleasure in bullying her, and to this day, she never tires of holding on to her and ravaging her. Sometimes her belly is also very spicy, and her strength is equally strong. Many times, she can suppress her, but there is no way, who says her altitude is too low and she does not have an advantage. Even after being bullied for 3 years, they never turned their backs, and their desk mate was also the only classmate of Leyun who could be considered a friend. I realized it was too late to remind you. She refused to admit that she deliberately didn't remind her even to the death. Anyway, Luo Ban was just on the surface fierce and wouldn't do anything to them during this rush stage of the college entrance examination. Okay, I accept this reason, Du Miaoshu said with a smile, fondly squeezing her face as she played and giggled. Lele, quickly tell me what you ate. Your little face is even tender than water tofu. It's so refreshing, well behaved. Let me touch it, sister. There's sugar to eat. Leyun couldn't escape the clutches of her belly, urging her to bully her. When that guy had enough fun, she packed her books and prepared to leave. The two of them actually lived in the same dormitory. Du, a native of the county, returned to school too late in the evening and didn't return to the dormitory in time. Du Miaoshu put on her backpack, took out a bag of potato chips, and walked with her desk mate while eating. As soon as she walked out of the classroom, she was blocked by a handsome boy. Leyun, why bully Zhang Jing again? Yang Binbin ran over in one breath and successfully blocked the person, questioning directly. He came over to scout after the second class of evening classes and found that a teacher was quietly evading him. In the third class, their teacher delayed the class for a few minutes, and he almost thought he couldn't catch anyone. Fortunately, he managed to live up to his intentions in the end. Oh, Leyun and Zhang Jing got into a fight again. Yang's voice was a bit loud, and the students from the second class next door also heard it, showing a "I see it" expression. The students from the first class heard the onlookers, who were not making any comments. Ah bah, your eyes are covered in feces, right? Du Miaoshu jumped and almost slapped the boy's face with French fries, spitting uncontrollably. Zhang Jing is 18 years old, and Leyun will only turn 14 next month. Zhang Jing is 1.64 meters tall, and Leyun is 1.53 meters tall. Compared to her age, Leyun has always been a weak group. You said Leyun bullied Zhang Jing, and you are just like you, the people of the world, and you are a fool. The nearby classmates remained silent, and Du's words made a lot of sense, leaving them speechless. Yang Binbin was also speechless for a moment, hesitated for a moment, and then threw some words. Leyun is relying on minors, so she always hits Zhang Jing. Zhang Jing dare not fight back. Go see what Zhang Jing's face looks like, Leyun has not been damaged at all. This is the best evidence. Who said I wasn't hurt? Leyun became angry. Yang's surname requires thinking carefully when speaking. Zhang Jing kicked my belly, grabbed my hair, and hit my chest with her elbow. She hit me. Did she make me take off my clothes and shake around for you to see? She always puts her hands in the dark when she hits me. I treat her openly and honestly, so feel your conscience and tell me, is it me or her who is too much? Yang Binbin was startled by the anger on the little girl. Why can't I say it? Leyun didn't let him go and continued to spray. Over the years, it has always been Zhang Jing and Huang Yali who have been making things difficult for me. When did you see me proactively go find them? Yang Binbin, it's your freedom to like Zhang Jing, but please don't bully me just because you want to be a flower protector or please Zhang Jing. Next time you come to trouble me for no reason, I'll even fight you. The onlookers didn't speak, but Yang had been interested in Zhang Jing since he was a high school student. He said that Zhang Jing was not the most outstanding in terms of appearance and family background. It was probably Wang Ba who looked at the mung beans right, but he just liked Zhang Jing. Lu burst into a loud conversation, and Du Miaoshu immediately continued, Yang, your brain is used for thinking, not for pretending to be a tofu. You are always being used as a gun and boasting. Sometimes I really doubt if your brain has been kicked by a donkey. You won't be called a school grass just because you look handsome, and even your mind is covered in grass. This divine knife is so skillful that it can be called a divine knife, and the onlookers chuckled loudly. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net. You guys, that's too much. Yang Binbin didn't argue with the girl before, and his face turned red from being choked. What's really excessive is you and Zhang Jing. Every time I fight or argue with Zhang Jing, you have to run away. Remember, in 1 second come and ask me, as a boy, is it okay to bully a girl 3 or 4 years younger than you? Also, I had a fight with Zhang Jing today, and Director Yen saw it and dealt with it on the spot. Director Yen didn't ask me to call my parents, nor did he punish me to write a self-reflection. Who is right and who is wrong? You can think about it with your own mind. Little Belly, didn't you say the last 2 questions today were difficult? Let's go back and study. Leyun was too lazy to talk to the broken school grass who always wanted to please girls and find fault with others. She had diarrhea and left, feeling angry. She kicked the boy in the way and said, "A good dog is not in the way, get out of the way." Yang Binbin saw a kick towards his lower abdomen and instinctively jumped away. When he suddenly regained consciousness, the 2 girls had reached the staircase and vaguely heard their classmates talking about him, causing his face to boil. He lowered his head and hurriedly fled the scene. Dear, this chapter is over. Wishing you a pleasant reading. 0